Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It is time for us to get ready for playoff racing action as the Stars and Stripes Cup Series starts round number 12 for the 12 drivers that made the playoffs to see how they're going to be starting off this playoff stint. Season 5 has been an absolute amazing season for us. Seen so many different winners. We almost had that of the whole entire playoff field taken by those drivers that have found themselves in the victory lane. But it's time to start it all down here at that of Homestead Miami Speedway for that of the Next Level Racing 200. And we're going to be giving you all the coverage all playoffs long. And we're soon to be seeing all of our broadcasts here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, giving you playoff racing action in almost all of our series. But for myself, Sam Dyer, joining me is going to be Zach Hall. And Zach, this is going to be a fun season of been watching these drivers, but for the playoffs, really it's an unknown with so many new rookies making it in.
Yeah, so many new names and so many new faces here to fight for this championship. And man, this round of 12 starts off great here at Homestead, and I tell you what, couldn't have picked a better place for it. So glad to be here tonight for this, and this is what it's all about. The playoffs are the time where drivers need to come out and really, put in the work. It's, throughout the regular season, yeah, you can, make your way into this playoffs sometimes and, just slide your way through, but there's no way to make it to the next round sliding your way through. These are the 12 best guys, and it's going to be a logjam from start to finish, and I cannot wait here tonight because this track, again, opens up the door for just multi-groove racing and racing all around this place.
That progressive banking is really helping towards that multi-groove racing, and drivers have been testing all week long on where they're going to be feeling the most comfortable, where to place these cars, and the 12 drivers are going to be racing for a championship. Well, here they are, as taking top of the board, most points earned but didn't get a single win, going to be that of Chris Essery. And then second with one win this season, going to be the rookie of Joshua Robinson. Ken Campbell with 2 wins, going to be third in points. Then it's going to be that of Brandon Pierce, who comes in with 1 win back at that of Auto Club. Kyle Bowling sneaks his way through with 0 wins, pointing his way into the playoffs. Scott Rickard with his 2 wins this season. Then you're also going to be seeing that of Ross Tatum, another rookie who's been shining and looking very good overall. He's got 2 wins. Cameron Sarton, who missed out on the Final 4, had to step out because he had prior obligations. He's now going to be making a redemption push for his opportunity to go for a championship. He had 3 wins in the regular season. Then you got Thomas Ogle comes in based off of points. And I got to say, Zach, the driver that's in a lot of other minds on who's going to be challenging for the championship, the 3-time champ, Kyle McCoy, certainly is going to be a favorite to watch out for. But one of my favorite underdog stories has to be the 91 of that of Jason Gratton. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring, as well as that of Christopher Wade.
Yeah, Sam, you hit the nail on the head there, man. It's a lot of tall names there that could possibly go out there and get this done, but there's some drivers out there that I think have found that momentum late in the season, such as Jason Gratton, that could transfer into this first round here and see if they can advance themselves to that next round and then have a shot to get to that Final 4. And the door is really wide open from there at Michigan, because that race is going to be very, very wild once you get there for 4 drivers trying to make it in. But it all starts here tonight, of course, at Homestead, and with practice closing here, qualifying will be the place to start out your playoffs, and if you can start up front, that'll really help your case here.
Yeah, out here at Homestead, so much can be grabbed, especially on the fact that if we look at the trends, this race hasn't really brought up that many cautions during all 4 runs, as Homestead has been used in all 4 past seasons. Each season's been ran in a different car, and now the drivers here tonight, been hearing, Zach, this might be one of the toughest Homestead races in the 5 seasons here for Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of people talk about how this car wants to over-rotate, and what we mean by that, folks, is this car is going to want to spin out pretty much on entry all the way to exit. And, the big word we got from drivers is throttle control. If you're out there getting too aggressive on that throttle from late center off of the corners, you're going to see these cars getting sideways. And this next Gen 7 car, It does not like getting sideways. It is a car that likes to stay very straight. When it gets out of line and starts to get a little bit sideways, it is a very tough car to save, and especially because it wants to go straight back right when usually you correct that wheel right. So we could see some of those major mistakes trying to overcorrect, but I think throttle control is going to be the key here tonight, and not something we've seen too many times with this next-gen car. Most of the time we hear a lot of tight sensations.
Yeah, but tonight gonna change it all. And Zach, with that loose sensation, kind of placing these drivers on where do you want to place yourself on track. There's gonna be over 30 drivers coming into tonight. We also have one newcomer that's gonna be joining us in this series. I'm excited for how they're gonna be reacting here tonight. But the one driver in mind that is performed here the most, who has 2 wins in the 4 seasons that have been ran here so far, that's Kyle McCoy. And Zach, we were looking at how the playoff schedule is coming out. This first round, only going to be 2 races, Homestead and Iowa next week. Then the second round, the round of 8, where we're going to be having Dover and New Atlanta. That's going to be a tough task, but then we go to Michigan, and it's only a 5-race playoff stint. But there's one driver where each round really suits their driving style.
Yeah, I think Kyle McCoy definitely has got that checked off for sure. I mean, coming here to Homestead, he is the 2-time defending last 2 races here, race winner here at Homestead. He was fastest in practice, right now top of the board here so far in qualifying. So I think he definitely comes in here as the favorite at Homestead, Miami. Iowa next week will be interesting. That track we haven't seen too much of. But in the next round, we'll have Dover in there with Atlanta. And we know how good Kyle McCoy can be at Dover. He has won multiple races there. And I tell you what, that sets up well for him to possibly go out there and get himself another championship.
Trying to go for 4 is for the 7 machine, but maybe not for the full award here tonight, as that of Chris Essery going to be topping the board on that first lap. McCoy takes it back on his last lap as we're riding on board and seeing that of the 38 machine. That's going to be Brandon Pierce, who's trying to have himself a decent run here. Currently for the 38 machine, he's going to be all the way mired back to that 14th place on the board, but that was only on his first lap here for qualifying. The second lap seems to be faster, as Ross Tatum's going to be coming up short, but moving up to second, and Pierce crossed the line. Going to be seeing that 38 machine trying to bump up, and he'll do so up to 9th place for himself. Nate Lynch will bump up to 6th, and Zach, all the fluctuating that's happening as only half the field is qualified so far.
Yeah, a lot of fluctuating, like you said there, Sam. And I think it's really coming down to that second lap as being the fastest time. Those tire temperatures start to build, and that will help with that condition of that loose sensation we talk about. Those cold tires usually always a little bit more worse when it comes to that cold tire sensation. The new tires are always worse with the cold tire sensation. But as that tire builds up and starts to build that heat, this stability really starts to build in. So that second lap, always a little bit more confidence with the drivers. And I think that 7 had really hit the nail on the head there with his, because he's well out front.
That he is. He is feeling so comfortable out up front, and he's going to hope that he can continue to have that speed, as the last 2 times he's been here, he has led the most laps, he's gotten the pole, and he has won. So he's going to try to continue on with that little bit of consistency that he's had so far. But I think that's been the one thing that's kind of been difficult to track here, Zach, is consistency. In a lot of leagues that we've been covering, that has been the talking point of who can stay the most consistent. Thomas Ogle here in the 83, one of those drivers that's trying to find some consistency, as he has been struggling at times to be inside of our top 8 of points.
Yeah, he really has. He, looking back, the race that got away from him is the one race we weren't there, which was Bristol. It led a lot of laps to that race. Just couldn't get the victory, unfortunately, for himself. But, he has speed. And that is the one thing that if you don't have that, it's always tough to dig yourself out of a hole when you don't have speed. Ogle has the speed to do it. It's just he's going to need to stay consistent and get those finishes that'll push himself up that order. And, also here, Stars and Stripes, no stage points given, so it's all about the finish. You can run in the top 5 early in this race. That doesn't matter. You need to be there when that checker flag flies at 133. And right there, Ogle really coming in with a clutch lap there to put him up second on the board too, Sam.
Second of the board, and that's going to be 0.058 seconds. That where the 83 is going to be off of that of Kyle McCoy. Here comes another driver who's hoping to be close up front. That's going to be finding himself of Ryan Lynch, as Joshua Robinson, who's had the most poles this season, going to be coming up short with 4th place on the board after his second lap is in. As that of Ryan Lynch's time is done, our qualifying stint is coming to a close as Andrew Hess, new scheme going with the breast cancer awareness pink. And speaking of the pink, that is going to be the color on drivers' banners, spoilers, and splitters moving forward. Now, not all the playoff drivers decided to put those on for this race, but expected to be on moving forward. But that's going to be the color for who is in the playoffs. As Andrew Hess, he actually had missed out, but going to be still giving himself a little bit of pointing out to breast cancer awareness as the drivers qualifying is done. It's time for us to take a look at where the qualifying results are for tonight's race here at Homestead. Kyle McCoy in the 7 machine going to be topping the board for himself. Thomas Ogle going to be in second place. Ross Tatum going to be in third. That of Joshua Robinson going to be in fourth. And our top 4 all playoff drivers, that of Dylan Grimm, just missing out last week at Talladega. He's going to be in 5th place with Kyle Bowling in 6th. Ken Gamble going to be in 7th. That Chris Essery in 8th. That of Derek Offerman, who's performed well here at Homestead, hoping to find some magic in 9th. With Nate Lynch 10th place. And those are going to be your top 10 here for qualifying.
In the 11th position, it's going to be the 05 of Scott Rickard, once A-Series champion here at Stars and Stripes. 12th is going to go to Will Bustler. 13th is going to be the 31 of Trey Jackson. 14th is going to go to Philip Chavez. The 15th position is going to be the 91 of Jason Gratton. 16th is going to go to Brian Burchett. 17th is going to be Dylan Glass. Andrew Hess is going to start in the 18th position, with 19th going to Brandon Pearson. Rounding out the top 20 is Christopher Wade.
Then in 21st position is going to be that of Brian Lynch and Brian Chu in 22nd, but all the way deep in 23rd place. Not the best qualifying time. Cameron Sarton's got a hole he's got to dig out of all the way back there in 23rd. Sam Siegel's going to be in 24th with that of George Kovacic in 25th. 26th is going to be Doug Pierce with Aaron Hill. 27th, 28th is going to be that of Mike Lynch. Travis Dart in 29th, and 30th is going to be that of Ryan Lynch.
And our last 4 cars on the field who did not take time, it's going to be 31st, John Dart. 32nd is going to go to Zach Kreitz, Jason Higginbotham, and new driver here, 33rd. And 34th is going to go to Bill Dart there, rounding out our 34-car field here tonight to start the playoffs at Homestead.
Well, Zach, looking at qualifying results, there's a few drivers that you can point out, say, hey, they've got a tough, real story to go through. That's going to be Brandon Pierce, Christopher Wade, and that of Cameron Sarton. Deeper in the field, in the middle of the pack, it's going to be tough for them if they're going to find themselves moving forward, but all 3 drivers, I got to say, they've shown speed this season. I'm not completely worried on them.
Yeah, not too worried for sure. You don't want to have that qualifying spot that far back, but still plenty of time left in this race. 133 laps. We have seen before here at Stars and Stripes, these guys have the ability to do full green races, but I think we might see a caution at some point with how these cars are handling. So I think they'll have time. They just got to be smart and stay out of trouble here with drivers looking to hold on to these race cars all night long around this 1.5 mile racetrack.
Well, last week was the conclusion of the regular season. Tonight, it is time for the playoffs to start for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series Season 5. It's the start of the round of 12 of the playoffs for the Next Level Racing 200. Kyle McCoy, Thomas Ogle, they get the green flag through the restart zone, and here we go. It's playoff racing here tonight.
Great start there, still side by side heading down to 1, but McCoy gonna luckily just nose ahead there, heading in through the middle of the corner. Ogle now going to take advantage of the second spot, but the battle now is Robinson and the 23 Dylan Grimm.
Gonna be finding out how well do you want to slice and dice. Do you just sit in line, save those tires? Well, drivers gonna be battling for 5th. Say, let's get aggressive, as that's gonna be going 3 wide action. Essery gonna be on the high side, the 30. Robinson in the middle, and the 44 of Boylan gonna be on the inner groove, and the 44 gonna have the better run for himself as they're 2x2, 5th on back.
Al Boland's second fastest in practice here. He was looking to make his way forward here, already starting from the 6th position, now up past Joshua Robinson, taking that 5th spot, but it's a little bit of a stack up there. Scott Rickard, the driver, really trying to make a charge through. He almost made contact with the 10 of Chris Essery there as they head down the back straightaway.
As they got to be careful, don't want to throw this race away. You don't have any faster pairs, but oh boy, watch out. There goes Ken Campbell, who talked about the loose sensation with Gutson. He's going to be forced 3 wide, stuck in the middle. Here we go on the front stretch.
And look at that. Scott Rickard wasted no time. He's being super aggressive, trying to make up as much ground as possible to these drivers up ahead and sticking right to that white line there while the rest of his competition slides up the racetrack and almost even some more contact there to the 10. But the 05 looking to make stuff here happen early. We'll see. Does this have an effect on the right rear tire, or does this, seem to work for him?
You also see on our ticker a little bit of swapping action going for third place. Dylan Grimm going to be moving up to third. Kyle Bowling's going to move up to fourth as Ross Tatum starting to fall back. And now he's going to be the Pied Piper of the gaggle of cars that are still swapping back and forth. And now is the question of who's saving, who's being aggressive, and it looks like the 21 already showing his signs of saving his tires, but the pass for the lead immediately happens. Kyle McCoy losing touch to Thomas Ogle.
Yeah, Ogle just took that lead with a power move heading down the one, and I'm not sure if that was just straight, management is actually, I went back and looked at, McCoy did actually get a little bit loose from the top group, so it was a little bit of a mistake actually from that 7. But still, we'll see how much this tire management play into it, because we see Ross Tatum, he was dropping straight back along with Joshua Robinson. I think those two looking to save those tires.
As we're right on board with the 91 machine, and Jason Grant, one of those drivers that could really have a dazzling showing here in the playoffs, makes his way in, and now finally got his first win of the season here, as he had a very tough Season 4, but Season 5's been a little bit of a shake-up, as he'll see 3 wide action in front of him as Ross Tatum continues to fall back. And Zach, I'm curious now for this 21 machine, because there is a point where you're giving up too much positioning and timing.
No, there definitely is, Sam, and I'm kind of thinking this might already be just a little bit too much. I understand saving and managing, but when you give up track position, a lot of that track position you give up is going to be much tougher trying to get back around. You let people go by, they don't let you go, and you get back to them later, so it makes it much tougher on those tires. But right now I think Ross Tatum electing to do that, and it may come back around. We'll have to see here as this run goes on how much does these tires fall off. And he should know as a driver, he's been out there putting in the work this week and learning about how this track works. If he feels like this is the right way to go, this may be his game plan.
And also saw a little bit more shifting going on our ticker as Kyle McCoy will now fall back to third. But on screen, Trey Jackson, he has been ripping the top end of this track since the drop of the green. And 31 is now going to be starting to move down to that middle groove and understanding he's got to save those tires for a better run if he wants a greater chance of finishing inside of our top 5. But behind these drivers, still the talking point, Christopher Wade, Brandon Pierce, and Cameron Sarton, they've cracked all inside of the top 20. But they're starting to stall out on the movement, be trying to pick and choose and wait on what the drivers in front of them are going to do, as Derek Offerman brushing the wall there in the center of 1 and 2.
Well, he was doing the Trey Jackson line, flirting with disaster up there in that top groove, and just got into it, like they said. And Offerman a past winner here at Homestead, so must like this place one here in Season 1, and we'll be looking to maybe carry some of that past previous experience here into fruition. But right now, trying to work that top groove, and it can get tough. There's some bumps up there in the top groove off the exit of 3 and 4 that can really upset this car, and you got to be very prepared for those moments.
And on screen, saw there for a quick moment on the apron. That was the 46 of Zach Kreitz, who missed the start of this race at the grid. He tried to get back out there on track, but it looks like connection issues seem to be struggles for the 46 machine. He might be calling it a day already, as Christopher Wade trying his best, and here is going to be that of Andrew Hess, seeing that of Ryan Lynch brushing the wall for himself, as drivers really trying to get gutsy on this apex of these corners, trying to, I know in other tracks there's kind of a glitch that you bounce off the apex of the wall, can give you a little bit of a boost on the straightaways. The 3, you can't be brushing and hit the wall too often, especially with this new update that iRacing's put to this damage model.
Yeah, you definitely can't be doing that. You'll be building fatigue into that right side of that car, and at some point, that right front toe link, that right rear toe link, it will just snap. And then the next time you head down to the corner, you're going to find out very quickly that your car is not right. So, got to be careful getting up into the wall. But right here, interesting sights to see. Kyle Bowling driving up here to the inside of Kyle McCoy. So, McCoy either struggling here in the early going or saving a little tire, because even Scott Ricker here in 05, remember his charge up. He's right here now in position 2 in the top 5.
Yeah, our biggest mover is that 0-5 of 6 positions of those that are in our top 10. And then I've got to give credit also to Dylan Grimm in the 23, who's up to second. He's done a fantastic job carving his way forward. But again, Thomas Ogle is almost up to a full 1.5 gap lead over second place. That 83 machine is feeling very confident where he's running.
Yeah, he must love Homestead. We haven't seen him in the past here, so we don't really have knowledge of what his expertise is here. So some people, this track, man, it really does fit certain people certain ways. And right now, it's seeming to come into fruition for a lot of these guys. As here comes Scott Ricker. He's already gotten past Kyle McCoy. He's now going to already be trying to get up here into the top 3 positions. That is crazy to say. And if his tires don't fall off, he's going to be a threat in this race.
And a lot of these Homestead races, drivers need to be aggressive at times because you can gain a lot of positioning. But as we saw there of the 21 of Ross Tatum, he gave up so much of spacing. The 21 qualified 3rd. He's only back to 11th, while the aggressive racing has helped out that of the 05. Here comes a great run from Kyle Bowling, who needs to find this 44. I mean, what a charge it could be to finally find this 44 into victory lane here, Zach.
It would be such a great story, man. And I tell you, this track here, I feel like this could be one of the places that it really works out for him. He has shown in the past year to be very fast here at Homestead in the other previous cars they've ran here at this series. And, you know, personally, he's very good when it seems to be tracks that it tends to lead towards tire wear. And that's what Homestead usually lends itself toward, is that tire wear. Right now, driving himself up in the 2nd spot, looking very, very strong in this 44.
Up 2nd place, it's going to be up 4 positions. Scott Ricker, it's going to be up 7 positions for himself. As you see there, the gap between the 83 of Thomas Ogle to the pack of everyone else playing their little mind games. Who's saving, who's being aggressive. And really, I would say, Zach, lap 20 might be the switch on when we start to see drivers that were saving finally going and getting aggressive.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you there, Sam. You know, if it doesn't start happening at lap 20 where you start seeing some of these guys that are dropping back start going forward, I think we maybe should raise more concerns than just thinking that they're saving tires. So, you know, and what we've heard, too, is the first 20 laps, after that, the fall-off is just tremendous. So, saving tires does seem to be the way to go, but which driver's done it the best will be the question.
So riding on board 15 to Ken Campbell, heading into turn number 1. These corners slightly different from one another. Feels like what turns 1 and 2, a little bit wider. Drivers can try to arc themselves, and then hitting the back stretch, trying to utilize the draft the best that they can. But Zach, 3 and 4 always seems to be the troublesome spot for drivers, especially the exit of 4.
Yeah, 4 always seems to be like that, man. The corner flattens out so fast here. We're going to ride, we can see there for a moment riding on board there. It really is the transition of the banking, and it really is different than every other track out there. Off to the exit of turn 2, you don't seem to get that same sensation that you do out of turn 4. Turn 4 always seems like the track is falling away, and you're always losing the rear end. So it definitely tends to lead to this track racing different on different ends of the track. But, man, I tell you what, right now, Ken Campbell's got a great sight in front of him as Kyle McCoy. He's looking to take back that spot from Scott Rickard, so maybe showing here signs of life in that 7.
The 7 machine, again, has shown the past 2 seasons how to get to victory lane. He has led over 90-plus laps the last 2 races, getting the pole, winning, and leading the most laps. He got the pole already here this evening, and if he's going to keep up that pattern, he's got to be moving up forward. As Thomas Ogle, a driver that's still searching for their first win of the season. And again, we talked about this rookie class, I feel like a lot this season. It has been very strong overall to see, but a driver that almost snuck away with a victory last week at Talladega. Nate Lynch, Zach, this 25, what a run he almost had last week.
Yeah, if you could have snuck away with that win, that could have been a huge moment to try to propel him into those playoffs. Unfortunately, not coming in here tonight in the playoffs. And, you know, Lynch has had some great runs and shown a lot of speed. So, and mostly at the 1.5 miles, in my opinion. So, I think tonight this could be his shot here to get up here and have a great run. So we'll see what he's got. Is right now directly ahead of Christopher Wade in his 12th spot, right behind Trey Jackson. But he's got Ross Tatum right there up in front of him too in the 21. He's starting to make his climb back up forward as he's gotten past Trey Jackson back in the 10th. And now looking to the outside, Jason Gratton in the 91, who's having a big moment here. You're going to see him checked up and losing a bunch of speed as that car got really loose in the center of the corner there. As actually a car way in the background hits the wall.
That is going to be the 33. No, that's going to be the 36. Will Bustler going to be having that issue of hitting the inside wall after coming extremely loose out of the corner. Complete self spin for himself. But that inside pit wall is not nice to be hitting, and the 36 got to be careful that he doesn't get any more drivers involved, as he does have a broken toe length, and he's hoping to make himself and get into pit road.
Yeah, it's surprising that thing is turning as well as it is with that broken toe link. Luckily on the left side, but you can see they're not able to really make the entry to pit road there. That the access you don't have to take but I think he was trying to still, and now going to get this thing down the pit road. Hopefully it turns enough to the left for him to get past that wall, and he does. But another thing he's got to watch out here is when you break that toe link, that left front will not slow down when you hit the brakes, so it's going to be tough getting into that box. But already seeing some guys starting to get a little bit more sideways. I think this is showing that if you didn't save something, that right rear can easily slip away.
And we're also starting to see a lot more movement on track as drivers getting a lot more aggressive. You've been saving, you're pushing forward, and up front, we're starting to see it. You also see here deeper in the field, drivers getting aggressive as this is battling in the middle of the pack of drivers trying to gain everything they can. But up front, it's the 7. Kyle McCoy gets by Dylan Grimm. Grimm, he's starting to fall backwards. He was one of our bigger movers at the start of this race in those first 20 laps. Well, we hit lap 20. This 23 is going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, this is just looking like a plan from these guys here. As McCoy now back into the top 4 here, making that pass. You're going to see Joshua Robinson coming into the picture also in the 30. And he was one of the drivers that dropped back very quickly there at the beginning. Also, Ross Tatum right behind this group. He's getting past King Campbell. So really showing here, I think tire saving is going to be a big, big topic of the night, because these guys who have dropped well back into the field, they're making easy passes now. And that's the thing, like I was saying, you know, these passes were going to be tough when they try to get back around them. Well, if the guys go out there and burn their tires up enough and you have enough tire left, they will be easy passes.
More drivers having issues with their tires, but the driver that's having the biggest one up front, Thomas Ogle, he had over a 1.5 second lead. Well, it's disappeared. Kyle Bowling's right there on his back bumper.
What a crazy turn of events. It was almost a full second just 2 to 3 laps ago. Now, just 1/10 of a second exiting out of turn 2, and I tell you what, Kyle Bowling still looking strong, almost up into the wall, though, off of turn 2. So luckily for his sake, didn't get that. But he's going to look to the inside, but it's going to be the 83 covering him off. But also Chris Essery driving his way up into the picture from starting 8th. So that 10 showing a lot of speed here, even on the longer run.
And also Kyle McCoy about to make his surge forward. Ross Tatum's closed in on this pack. He's not going to be making the pass for that of 7th, but for the lead, here comes the 44, ducking it low, trying to find that momentum as Chris Essery on the outside was thinking about forcing it 3 wide. He'll sit in line. He'll pick and choose which lane gets the better run of the corner. And the 10, he'll follow the 44 as Thomas Ogle struggles as they continue to battle side by side. This is going to be reining in the 7 as well as the 21.
Man, it is crazy to see the difference in the tires here for some of these guys who didn't go out there and use them up. Thomas Ogle went out there, ran full bore, and it's really showing now as he's already dropped himself outside, back all the way to the top, the 5th position, and going to quickly be in threat to be falling out of the top 5 just in 1 lap.
And that last lap, fastest car on track, the 30 machine of Joshua Robinson, who's now up to 4th. You see the black and blue. He is coming, and he was going to try to make a surge. And if anything, just settle down. Try to close up. You really, for these drivers that have saved their tires, they don't have to make this pass immediately. They still have plenty of time to work with, especially Zach with the number we were given on the fuel runs that these drivers are going to aim for.
Yeah, it's definitely adding up to where they can go about 62 laps here tonight on a solo fuel run. So these guys are going to look to stretch it here, but at the same time, you know, with the way 133 laps is, you're not going to make this into a 1-stop. So they're going to have to break this race up into 2 pit stops here. So they're going to split it up into thirds. And that's where it could get a little bit more interesting, in my opinion, and see where that pit strategy really starts to come out. So don't expect people to start hitting pit road till about lap 40 to 45.
As drivers getting a lot more clustered up front, some drivers have found themselves with major mistakes. Will Bustler, we saw, broke his toe link. He is now going to be out of this race. He's called it a night, while the 24 of Brian Lynch got contact between himself and the 33 of Brian Burchett. 24 got the worst of it. He's in pit road with acquired damage. As everyone else up front, they start to close back in. It was so just diverse on the fact of how much gap was given to all the drivers around them. Well, now it's time to see what the pack racing is going to give us. It's Cameron Sarton, Christopher Wade. They're all starting to close in on cracking the top 10.
Yeah, Cameron Sarton's starting to make his impression farther up through the field in that 94 machine. That's definitely what he is needing here. He does not want to see this race, you know, go where he continuously stays out of this top 10, starting for that 23rd position. It's been a tough time so far, but here he is closing in on this 05 of Scott Rickard, who started in 11th. Scott Rickard's about to fall back to 12th now. He was at one point almost second in this race, and it just shows you if you go out there and use those tires up, they just go to nothing.
They fall away as Cameron Sarton going to be up to 11th. Christopher Wade's up to 10th. Well, that of Brandon Pierce is kind of stalled out at 14th position. And more so, I think, for the 38 update on him. He was one of those drivers in the middle of the pack who got very aggressive on trying to make as many passes as possible. He stalled out, but at least he's not in the worst spot. He's still 5 seconds off our leader. And if we could stay away around this window with the way that these pit stops might lay down, 38's not completely out of at least a decent finish with all the other playoff drivers and how they're running right now.
Yeah, and, a lot of people come into this season talking about how Brandon Pierce liked the cars being loose. So, you kind of expect with it being like this, maybe it'll fall into his forte here later tonight. So it may just take a little bit of time to get into that rhythm for himself. So right now, still making a good rebound from that 19th starting spot up to 14th, and still got plenty of time here tonight to gain on drivers, and definitely gaining on a couple up ahead of him who are starting to struggle and fall farther back here throughout the field.
And that's going to be Scott Ricker, the main driver of point, as well as Jason Bratton, who found themselves slipping backwards after a couple of loose, scary spots as they're about to be caught. And more playoff drivers you can get by, the better, as in front of these drivers, the battle for fourth, you can put a blanket over these drivers, is how hard they're racing. It's almost like they think this is the last lap, Zach, with all the slicing and dicing and drivers trying to keep their positioning. Thomas Ogle, if anything, might have realized he was going to get caught. He backed off, trying to save his tires, and he's still fighting to stay up here in our top 5.
Yeah, he's still fighting for sure. And I tell you what, the big moment that happened right before we came up here to these guys was the 21 of Tatum was to the inside of Chris Essery, heading down to 3 and 4. They were battling actually for that 4th position. The 21 just got major tight into the center of the corner. The 10 gets loose on his outside, and then the 21 gets loose. So it's definitely all over the place for these guys right now, holding on to their cars. But Tatum trying to go back here and take this position back from Ogle.
As Thomas Ogle going to hold that middle lane, Ross Tatum trying to clear, and will do so as he'll try to pull away and catch up to Dylan Grimm, as drivers starting to feel a major drop off on their tires. Zach, already, but for most of these drivers, their best lap time that was placed was a 33.3 second lap time. This last time by for our leader, Kyle Bowling put down a 34.9. They're almost a full 2 seconds off of their best lap time that they put down, and we're only 30 laps into this stint.
Yeah, I mean, we're just past halfway of a full fuel run, and that right there, that stat right there, almost 2 seconds off, just shows you how much that saving can play a factor. You can go out there, run some really fast laps that we've seen Thomas Ogle do. Go pull out a gap about 2 seconds, but it doesn't matter. It just, as them tires fall away, the driver, you just lose all confidence in him. And when it's loose like that, losing confidence here at a fast track like this and in the playoffs can make you very scared as a driver.
Another driver going to be finding themselves with issues. That will be Philip Chavez that's going to be having to park it for a little bit, getting some damage repair. As drivers up front, Kyle McCoy now back up to 3rd as he's about to challenge for 2nd place. The 7 machine, he just settled in, felt confident, gets by Dylan Grimm and others, and now on the charge to try to catch up to the 44, which big kudos to Kyle Bowling. I mean, we think back to 2 seasons ago when these drivers were running in the Xfinity cars. This 44 was so consistently in our top 5, but never had that true speed that made you think this 44 had a chance to go into victory lane. Here tonight, that is flipped completely. This 44 now looking like one of the biggest threats to win here tonight in just the early portions, but we still have under that of 100 laps to go. So it's a little bit too early to make that call, but it's great to see Kyle Bowling performing the way he is once the playoffs have struck.
It really is, Sam. I tell you, he's been so impressive throughout the other seasons, and it's been kind of a head scratcher this season. He made the playoffs, so he has been strong and consistent, but he hasn't had those Xfinity runs. We've seen him in the Xfinity car. It really seemed to be the car that suited him the most. As in the Gen 6, he was very good last season, but just wasn't at that same caliber. Right here tonight, though, at Homestead, showing that this Gen 7 fits right into his hands, but back here, the battle definitely heating up is the 10 of Essery. He's just fallen off a cliff, guys, as he's fell back here. Now battling for the 9th and 10th position and 11th with his teammate Cameron Sarton and Christopher Wade.
Talk about lap 20 kind of being that flip of a switch moment for these drivers on who's going to be falling backwards, who's going to go forward. And it looked like for the 10 of Chris Essery, he was running pretty similar lap times to the 44 of Bowling. but he got too aggressive, kind of got a little bit too giddy with those tires, trying to make a lot of big passes as soon as possible once he saw that he was faster than everyone else, and looks to have backfired. Instead of staying patient and looking at the end game of the big picture of slowly be faster, he tried to grab everything he could in one instant, and now it's falling apart just as quickly.
And he's going to have his teammate now look to the outside here off of turn 4 and have the big run here. He'll be pulling side by side and now push himself up into the top 10. Cameron Sarton from 23rd up to 10th, and even Christopher Wade, both those drivers pretty much been stuck nose to tail going through the field from 20th and 23rd right now up to 19th.
And if you're Cameron Sarton, you gotta love the fact that you've got Christopher Wade who's going forward at least. If the 53 wasn't going forward, this 94, excuse me, would have had to do all this work of making all these passes, and when you have another driver in front of you so much faster, making passes for you, it's kind of like a spearhead that you just got to follow through. Wherever it goes, you follow in the tire tracks, and it makes passing so much easier than trying to be that one driver trying to make the pass all on your own.
Oh, no doubt. When you can have that driver up ahead of you, really slowing that driver up ahead of or the car that they're putting out of the preferred line, sometimes you can sneak your way into that position. They stick your nose into the preferred line and take that groove away from the car that's getting passed by the car up ahead. So it definitely is something drivers try to do, is try to follow through the car up ahead of them that is making passes. And Sarton and Wade have been doing a pretty good job out here together. And the one big thing also I look at for them too is they've done a good job to keep relatively good time to the leaders. It was about 4.5 seconds they were back at one point. Now only about 4 seconds back. So they had gained some time through all that battling phase where drivers were falling back and tires were starting to fall off. But they've kind of held station since they've gotten to about 4 seconds and showing good pace.
And also with the fact that this fuel stint is about that at 60 laps, these drivers can have a couple of waves of tire wear aspects that's going to change up. We talked about the first 20 laps, those drivers that were just taking off immediately. Then the drivers that were waiting back, they get their attempts to go forward. Now we're at lap 40. I'm expecting that second wave of who's been saving maybe a little bit more than everyone else to start to make that surge. As looking at the lap times that last time by, it was that of Kyle McCoy, Joshua Robinson faster than our leader. But the driver that's kind of surprised me with their speed, Thomas Ogle, actually is running pretty quick, but he's still 2.5 seconds off of our leader.
Yeah, just dropped too far back now and battling with King Campbell here, trying to get back around the 15, but the 15 is going to hold that spot here on this outer groove and take it back from that 83. So holding on to 6 here, but yeah, tough break for them. And as they race each other, the lap times definitely drop off a lot. So they got to be careful here not to fall into the clutches of the drivers behind them too much by battling here, but you want to try to keep going forward.
As more drivers further in the field continue to have troublesome spots with having too much damage, Ryan Chu going to be the next driver involved with a self-spin incident as we continue to see those drivers fall off the grid. Up front, it's the playoff drivers really looking strong for themselves. But as this race continues on, the more we got to think about the fuel. When are you going to come in? Always the possibility of a yellow flag. And that's where iRacing iFlag comes in. iRacing iFlag provides drivers with the best iFlag virtual flag system. But one of the instruments that they have and equipment that you can purchase is their digital pit board. Their digital pit board gives you great information of the track temp, the fuel temp, as well as how much of fuel is left in your machine. And talking about fuel, here comes drivers into pit road as Jason Grad holds on. And whoo! And also Derek Offerman, almost more contact going to be made with our playoff drivers. And if you'd like to get great tools that can assist you while driving on iRacing, go to iRacingIFlag.com. Use our promo code to get yourself discount. As Zach hit stops, they are wild, and drivers, they got to be careful with this next wave of drivers to hit pit road.
Yeah, that was an intense moment, and that's the thing that's changed. Back a couple years ago, we used to have to take that access road all the way down the pit road here at Homestead, and it was very tough when you had to take that access road. But in my opinion, it makes it even tougher when you don't have to. That pit road comes up so fast off of turn 4, and it's hard to get these cars slowed down on these older tires. And kind of where I expected, around lap 45, these guys hit pit road.
I was thinking maybe lap 50 could be a window to look for. Pit at lap 50 and then 100 and then try to take it to the end. Drivers thinking about that at lap 45. They still can aim for lap 50. But with this early stop, now you're going to be putting all the pressure on the 44 and the 30 machine, that of Kyle McBowling, as well as that of Joshua Robinson. Both of them are now going to be hitting pit road on this lap, gifting the lead to Ross Tatum, Nate Lynch, and others, as Ken Campbell now hits pit road. Let's see whose strategy is going to be in the better positioning, because Zach, we talked about the major drop-off on pace. One lap, you're losing over a second, if not 3 seconds, for some of these drivers.
Yeah, it's so tough, and when you go out there and do this undercut, like you said, you're taking advantage of that difference in tire pace. But the big thing is then that difference in tire pace is going to be completely different, because we've seen guys that went out there and ran really hard on the same exact set of tires, and they fell back into the clutch of the drivers who saved. You can only imagine when you have a lap difference on tires, it's going to be a huge actual difference tonight. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out through these sequences. But Kyle McCoy going a little bit more aggressive than the drivers up ahead of him, Kyle Bowling and Joshua Robinson, and he's able to jump out ahead. But Ross Tatum, he's taking it a little bit farther. And I think what you were saying, Sam, about lap 50, I think he might be looking to take it about that far.
As we still have that of our top 9 still needing to come into pit road. Ross Tatum going to be the only, besides that of Brandon Pierce and Ross Tatum, going to be the 2 trip playoff drivers still needing to hit pit road, as Nate Lynch now comes in. And for Brandon Pierce, Ross Tatum, gutsy calls for the both of them, as it's going to be finding that of Kyle McCoy already unlapping himself. Dylan Grimm now going to be seeing the 44 of Kyle Bowling getting by. And now, Zach, this is when things can get tricky, because if a yellow flag comes out, that could be trapping a lot of drivers 1 lap down.
That it really could. Luckily for Kyle McCoy, it looks like he's already got himself quickly back on the lead lap. Here goes the 21 of Ross Tatum down to pit road now from the lead, and this is going to allow a few more guys to unlap themselves that have come around and already hit pit road. But yeah, definitely don't want that sequence of yellow flags to happen here under this this caution, or sorry, this pit flags stops here, because that'll really change up the whole aspect of your race if you win the lap down.
As that of Ross Tatum going to be into pit road. Brandon Pierce takes the lead and also cannot get caught with penalties. We've seen drivers make mistakes on the racing surface, but penalties could be drastic. If you get yourself caught with a speeding penalty, that's a 40-second hold, and that's at least putting you another lap down, if not 2 laps down, with the extra add-on of your pit stop. As again, drivers hoping not to make any big mistakes for themselves, as Brandon Pierce continues to stay out for another lap for himself. Trey Jackson, Andrew Hess, John Dart, Travis Dart, Dylan Glass, and that Doug Pierce, all still out there on track, waiting to make their first pit stop.
It'll be interesting to see how long Pierce elects to take it. We've seen him a few times do this strategy this season, and it's come back to, a lot of times, in my opinion, bite him. I mean, you look back all the way to Auto Club. He stretched the fuel all the way to about 3 laps to go in that race, hit pit road. I mean, he literally finished pretty much in the very back of the field because of that. So sometimes these strategies, I think Brandon Pierce gets on just a little bit too long-sighted, and doesn't seem to work out in the whole in-game, I think. So we'll see how it works for him, but man, definitely losing a lot of time right now here, staying out.
We've seen so many different strategies, also in other leagues that we cover here on Freaking Fast Broadcasting, drivers trying these strategies out, but it's honestly banking on a yellow. That's always when you're out here staying this late. If you're not going to come into pit road at least that of 5 laps to 10 laps from when other drivers already made their stop, you're banking on a yellow. You're waiting until the very end. And for Brandon Pierce and others, what they thinking? I mean, they were in the draft, further in the field, might be thinking about trying to stretch it. It's kind of a very gutsy call to do so, but it is in mind to try to see if you could stretch your fuel out to turn this race into a 1-stop.
Yeah, that would be so tough to do, and maybe our numbers with fuel are just a little bit on the conservative side, and if you were able to save a little bit more, maybe in that draft, which our numbers are from a solo run, the draft will help affect that fuel mileage. So maybe Brandon Pierce knows a little something we don't know. Maybe he knows he can stretch it just to make it a 1-stop, and if you can make it into a 1-stop, hey, why not go for it?
And as drivers that have already come into pit road, Kyle McCoy has already moved up to that 6th place. Dylan Grimm is up to 7. Kyle Bowling, who's on some of the fresher tires of those that were in our top 10, making their stops. He's going to be an 8, just about to make a pass on Dylan Grimm. 44 is looking good here, Zach, as he's now going to be making the pass for 7, and what should be provisional 2nd place once this pit cycle goes over through.
Yeah, and the big thing that I look at is he's really gapped Joshua Robinson here. And Robinson came down the same exact lap as Bowling. And we know Robinson saved a lot on that initial start of the race. And, we've seen drivers dropping well back in the grid order. But when you have these green flag sequences like this, it's a little bit actually easier as a driver to save your tires and go a little bit faster. And what I mean by that is just easier to manage when you don't have someone every single lap trying to go to your inside, go to your outside and try to take that position. It allows us to carry a little bit more speed, but also not overwork that tire, also trying to keep someone behind.
As more drivers that have been staying out hitting pit road, as Dylan Glass made his stop, now Trey Jackson into pit road, and Brandon Pierce continues to run his own race as Joshua Robinson as well is going to be having that Thomas Ogle in front. They're trying to challenge and battle for 8th place at this current time as Cameron Sarton, as well as S3 and others, going to be a little bit further back than the group you can see on camera. As still out there on track, Brandon Pierce continues to stay out, and it's one of those gutsy calls, Zach, where you really truly never know what you're going to see here at Homestead. And oh man, this is one of those head-scratching moments when you see some of the faster drivers, their strategies. You know this race is going to be a 2-stop, but you go with the complete oddball strategy. When this is playoff racing, you can't try these gutsy calls unless you know you're in a must-win scenario.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to bring up, Sam, is this playoff racing, man. You can't go ahead and try these off-the-wall strategies just saying, well, if whatever, tonight I'll take what finish I get if it doesn't work out. I mean, if it doesn't work out, you got one more week to make it where it does work out for you to get to the next round. I think you can't go into these races saying, I'll try this off-the-wall thing. You got to do what you stick to, what works here, and not change anything that you've done all season. And right here, Brandon Pierce, definitely a head-scratching strategy. I'm not surprised by Andrew Hess and John Dart here. Those two, not in the playoffs, don't really have nothing to lose here. Why not do that for them? So they're in the clutches actually now of those leaders of Kyle McCoy and Kyle Bullen. So with Pierce here probably having to hit pit road within the next 4 or 5 laps, I think the leaders are going to be well within the distance zone. He's going to be almost 2 laps down.
Well, and also you look at when you're going to have to come to pit road. If you're that of Brandon Pierce, you're going to have to try to push your tires out all the way to lap 67. That is where you're looking for to try to make it even close to making it to halfway. So that is your marker. And already, Brandon Pierce is going to be caught by Kyle McCoy. McCoy is less than 7 seconds back, and he's gaining over that of 2 seconds each lap. I mean, it's not even close. And Kyle McCoy is going to pass his 38 machine, making this decision kind of a little bit on the rougher side, and just the timing didn't work out. The tire wear too difficult as we're on lap 60 of 133 this evening.
Yeah, if you were doing this strategy here, staying out this long, you would definitely, and looking to make it into a 1-stop, and like you said, you'd have to stretch it to about 67, and we got word 62 is about the fuel limit of what we're hearing tonight. So he'll have to stretch it a lot farther here if he wants to make that 1-stop. But the biggest problem for him is it's not going to work out time-wise either. It's going to be a huge issue if already the leaders are catching up to you on the first pit stop, on his first pit stop here, because he's going to have to go all the way to the end of the race from there on that set of tires. It could be a rough night here for Brandon Pierce if this strategy or a caution doesn't come out before he has to hit pit road.
But let's throw this out as well, as he's going to be passed now by the 2 of Mike Lynch, who's unlapping himself. If this does go all the way through green, right now where Brandon Pierce is, when the decisions of drivers coming into pit road happen, this 38 was in 14th place. He was battling with Travis Dart and those drivers back there. I'm now in a spot where maybe this is just a net gain decision, where he's thinking, you know what, this isn't a race winning decision, but this could place me in the top 10 at the end of this race. That could be a different idea of why the 38 is still out there on track. And while we're still waiting on others, as Andrew Hess now hits pit road, this is Brandon Pierce, our leader, is 1 of 4 drivers still needing to make a pit stop.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting to see. Can he stretch it that far? Because that's another thing. If he can't stretch it that far, then it's pretty much for just catching a caution. That's the only thing he can hope for at this point. Because if you can't make it on this 1-stop, your race is pretty much ruined unless a caution comes out at a good timing for you here later in this race. So we'll see. Brandon Pierce is definitely willing to risk it. We've seen him do it before this season and be off the wall with the strategy. And It's definitely one of those sequences right now, but he's quickly looking behind him as that's Kyle McCoy and Kyle Bolin, those two white cars right directly behind him.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing to watch out for there. Within a second, they're going to make the pass here, probably entering turn number 1, as the 44 machine says, I want to be the first car to try to make the pass to get back to where I was before this pit cycle started. As here it comes, that of Kyle Bolin to the inside of the 7. As here comes, they might have to split it 3 wide. Using the 38 as a pick, the 44 clear for the lead out of turn 2.
Great move by Kyle Bolin, and he's going to jump back to the lead, and that is just a great sight to see for him as he's trying to go out there and get that first victory. And well, man, just what a great run it's already been in his first 64 laps for him, but he's going to have a tough time. He's got this 7 machine directly behind him. Dylan Grimm's not too far behind that 23, and you know Grimm, he wants to make, pretty much spoil the party for any of these playoff drivers out here and go out and get a win.
Well, though, the big advantage for the 44 is he's got the better tires of the 2 behind him of McCoy and Grimm. The 44 of Kyle Bolin, 2 lap pressure tires, came into pit road for the 44, and now for Kyle McCoy, Grimm, I think it's more so a battle between themselves on who's going to get second until we get into the cycle of our next pit stop. As we continue to look at that ticker board, when you see the 38 hit pit road, you're going to see pit next to his name, and Zach, he's getting close. He's now 2 laps away from hitting the mark that this 38 needs to hit.
Impressive to see that he stretched this far. I mean, I definitely didn't think someone would be able to stretch it to a 1 stop. He's almost getting there. It's getting very, very close as he'll come around this next time to complete 66. And, that right there wouldn't get it done if he had to come this time. But if he can go to 67, like you said, I think that makes him just that little bit more confident. So we'll see what he can do. But
over the radio, he's coming in.
Yeah, he's coming.
And he's going to have to make sure, again, this is the money stop for the 38 machine. Do not get a penalty with a black flag with coming in too fast. And it looks like he'll be clear in that aspect, but do not get any other penalties for the 38 as Brendan Pierce comes into pit road. And now for the 38 machine, on top of him making this pit stop and making this race a 1 stop, he now has to bank Zach on this race staying green to at least 100 when everyone else needs to hit pit road.
Yeah, exactly. He needs this race to go green now completely to the end and play out. Or, never know, during the sequences where everybody else comes to pit road, he could catch a timely caution where he could get some of that track position back and play out into it. But the big thing I think for him now he needs to prioritize is getting that extra lap of fuel. He did 66 laps this last run. He will need to do 67 the next one. So he's going to have to make another 1.5 miles. He just needs to find out where he can save that fuel.
And he also needs to make sure that he's behind a pack like he was for the majority of this first stint. As tonight we are past halfway, we're going to go side by side here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. As tonight you are watching the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. This is the first race of the playoffs. It's only 2 races for this round, 2 races for the next round. So if you make a mistake here tonight, you're going to have to dig a hole next week. As we're going to go side by side, you won't miss a thing. We'll see you in just a few. They're wrecking, they're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, they're wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside, trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
The wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 getting to the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
What second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. Running productions this evening is Rob Moyer Jr. in the background, give you all the great camera and graphics this evening as you are watching the first race of the playoffs for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series for Season 5, as each season's been a different car, and tonight an opportune chance for a driver to get their first win of the season as Kyle Bowling's leading the way for the 44 as our first pit stop, so our first pit cycle is done. And now, Zach, it's time to see when the next time these drivers might think about trickling in at pit road.
Yeah, we've seen really the first start of them around lap 45, so I think lap 90 to 95 is probably that window of when we'll start seeing pit stops start to happen for those guys that are looking to do the two-stop strategy, which is pretty much most of the field other than Brandon Pierce out there who's stretching, but the caution is out on the speedway.
Caution flag strikes, and it's the 16 at Dylan Glass who's going to bring out the yellow. And, looking into the first driver, one lap down, it's that of Brandon Pierce.
Luckily for him, he's going to be that first car one lap down, but he was almost just about to unlap himself too, so that was unfortunate timing if that caution could have come out just a few moments later.
As drivers going to be slowing down as we take a look at our Freaky Fast Broadcasting instant replay. The 16, a lot of drivers have done similar things here tonight, but they've stayed and left their car straight or have been wrecking on that of the apron. But the 16 overcorrects, and first yellow of the day comes from a driver not able to save it coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, that is a classic next-gen crash right there. Ooh, just a close moment for the 91 of Jason Grattan. He drifts by. That was beautiful sights from him there as his playoff lights flash before his eyes. But yeah, that's a classic wreck there for the next gen. Gets loose, go to save that car and correct the wheel back to the right to counter steer that little bit of looseness there. And all of a sudden, those front tires grip up and you're head first into the wall. So very quickly, things can happen like that in this car.
Well, Zach, now the drivers are for sure inside of the window from here on out. This now kind of puts a little bit of testing in your tire saving for some on how you want to race this thing out. But a few drivers deciding they're just going to stay out there on track. That of Brian Burchett, Andrew Hess deciding to stay out for themselves on this restart potentially. We'll wait and see if they have to come back into pit road or if it was just a ploy to get some points for themselves. As exiting pit road, it's the 44, the 30 machine, and some drivers losing a lot of ground. That is Kyle McCoy, extended time into pit road for the 7.
Yeah, he's still sitting there on pit road, so I don't know if something came up where he had to go do something, whatever, but yeah, definitely just leaving pit road now. He's going to lose all that track position that he had by qualifying on pole and being running in the top 5 for majority of the night. That's all going to be gone. He's going to have to work his way back up. But like you said there, Sam, this is going to be the longest run pretty much of the night for majority of these drivers. They're going to have to really make sure these tires last.
And look to be damage repair for the 7. He had some front left damage, trying to figure out where he got it from. But that damage getting fixed up. That could have been one of the reasons why this 7 machine was not powering as quick as he wanted to. That front right left damage could be an interesting spot to try to recover from.
Yeah, I went back and looked at it myself there, Sam, and they did a good job to fix that. I couldn't even tell the car was damaged from before, and it was considerably damaged too. That left front was very much pushed in, and that will have a huge effect. And even his splitter was very much raised up, so that can really change the handling of the race car. I think smart move by him to take the time, get it repaired, because he saw how fast that car fell off once that damage really started taking hold. So he'll start himself all the way near the rear of the field, about the 19th position, but he'll be trying to make his way through.
I went through, found it. It was coming into pit road under his green flag stop. He actually slid and hit the inside pit wall. That's where the damage was collected from for the 7. And now luckily it's repaired now, getting that optional damage, and he'll start deep in the field. But Zach, easily a mistake that we've seen a lot of drivers struggling getting into pit road. For the 7, now they'll have to have a great time recovering. And now the question, I think in my mind, was thinking, looking back at that, he lost quite a bit of time on the interior pit road. Now, what would have happened if the yellow didn't come out, and if that damage didn't happen, where he would have been on track?
Yeah, that would have been an interesting case to see where he would have cycled out with that, because, yeah, definitely big moments for him hitting that inside wall. And this next-gen car is tough, man. It is so much more tough, in my opinion, than any of the other stock cars we have out there when it comes to getting on pit road and getting on it right, and then getting in your box. And really, it doesn't even come down to, you know, the stopping power of the car. These cars stop personally better than most of the other stock cars. They have bigger brakes. You would think that. But the big thing that this car has that none of the other stock cars in iRacing have is they simulate the actual brake temperature. And when these brakes go around this track at high speeds, they get very, very cold. And they do not like to work when they're cold. These carbon brakes like to be warm, and they grab a lot better when there's heat. And then if you go down the pit road with those cold brakes, you step on the brake, it does not work, and it slides right through the box. So tough break for McCoy, but we'll see how he can rebound.
He's got to make sure he can rebound through this field, as well as the 38 of Brandon Pierce. He's going to be given the lucky dog, but he'll have to start at the end of the line for these drivers. But up front, it's getting time back to green flag racing here this evening for the Next Level Racing 200. It's the 44 of that of Kyle Bowling, trying to get himself up front after getting by the old tires of Andrew Hess. Bowling's feeling good, trying to pull away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, can't get too overzealous, though. He's been so strong all night long. Don't overdo it, though. We've seen Thomas Ogle in the very start of this race, when everybody was stacked up, drive away to about a 1.5-second lead. It all came back around at the very end. Thomas Ogle was the one struggling at the end of the run, and while everybody was going around. So I think drivers are going to have learned from there, as now everybody's stacked up and racing.
Stacked up racing. And another thing, Zach, that last pit stop during this caution, if drivers came to pit road, they should be good on fuel to make it to the end. Now it's on who's been the fastest on the long run, and how do you work this race out. Thomas Ogle, he's got another chance to try to race up front. We saw him power his way to the lead and try to pull away. Does he learn from those past mistakes?
I think he will. Personally, he looked a lot better in that second run. When he came back down the pit road, it seemed like he didn't take off as fast as what he did there in that very initial start of the race, and that's easy to do. When the race starts, you're kind of nervous. You almost have those jitters, as I like to call it, as you're ready to get going and you want to get the race started, especially with the playoffs just kicking off. And he might have just overcooked the car and just say, going out there running a little too fast. So hopefully learn from that. He is up to third right now. Can't do that again, though, and hopefully he's learned from the situation early in this race.
As we look at these drivers on how they want to run, as well, another driver learned from their past mistakes, going to be back in 6th position. That's where Ross Tatum is. How will Ross Tatum learn? As he gets a good show in his mirror of seeing drivers trying to make their way forward. And one that is going to be questionable, the 94 of Cameron Sartin. He's going to be starting much further ahead on this restart compared to when he started this race, all the way back in that of 23rd position. His driver's going to be going 3 wide. It's stuck in the middle. Is that 94?
Yeah, Sartin right in the middle of all that. It all stacked up off of 2, but luckily he holds on to it. He's still going to have Grattan here. Also the 05 of Rickard, who really burned his stuff up earlier, than 3 wide behind him. And Kyle McCoy, who's trying to charge his way back up from that 19th spot, already up to 10.
And also going to be having plenty of other playoff drivers in the mix here. You've got that 91, the 94, the 05, the 7, and as well going to be that of Christopher Wade in the 53. He's in that little bit of a gaggle of cars trying to crack inside of the top 10. And still, a little bit of bumpy to contact. The 94 has to push up as McCoy is not giving up. He's being relentless right now, trying to move forward. I think his goal has to be stick with the lead pack. Do not lose touch to them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's thinking, Sam. He's taking no prisoners right now, and he's definitely on the move here. Is up ahead of him. You got Essery battling with the 91 at Grattan. He's going to try to make quick work of those two, but I want to see what these drivers have learned from him. You know, Scott Rickard, he drove his way all the way up into the top 3. He fell back so far in that first run. Can he fix what he did early in this race? So we'll have to see here. But right now, the battling's still going on right here in this mid-pack.
We're right now starting to see 3 defined groups. You got our top 4 that are pulling away. Then you got the middle, that's going to be Ross Tatum and Dylan Grimm. Then you've got the 10 of Chris Essery trying to catch up to those front runners. And as they're battling on screen, the battle for the lead goes to the 30 machine of Joshua Robinson. He wants to take the point here as everyone's still trying to figure out how to catch up to this group of 4 that have just completely gapped themselves out from the rest of the field.
Yeah, it seems to be a little bit of a stack up here for the lead as Bowling didn't want to go too much faster. He says, go ahead, Robinson, take the inside line, go around. As now Ogle, he'll be looking to the inside and possibly be looking to do what he did at the start of this race is get himself back up front. But King Campbell, also newcomer to this top 4, he's right in the mix too. So with him opening up this 2.5-second gap back to Ross Tatum, I'm concerned for all of these drivers.
And Ross Tatum now in a waiting state. Where do you want to take off? Because looking at the lap times, our front 4 have been about 3 to 4 tenths faster than the rest of the field, showing that they are willing to burn off these tires, while the rest of the field might be thinking long-term, big picture. How do we get these tires to be at the best state that they can be and take them to the end?
Yeah, that's always the huge question here to see who can get this done. And we're actually hearing a little bit of sounds here from the onboard's car, and we're thinking that this 83 might even be shifting. And that's a common thing we've seen a lot of Mama has with this Gen 7 car. It gives you the opportunity to go down from that 5th gear down back into 4th like we used to run only 4 gears before in the Gen 6 car. So that 5-gear sequential box has really changed up this whole racing aspect here.
Well, the top of the cockpit view, which we might be able to actually see it be shifting in that spot, as this 83 machine certainly has been quick. We're trying to show that speed. He'll go to the outside, trying to get some more momentum built up, but just not able to do so, and continue to ride on board with that of Thomas Ogle. Getting the sense here, Zach, that these drivers, certainly they understand. Coming up to 40 laps to go. This is crunch time. Cannot make mistakes, especially if you're these playoff drivers. Cannot just throw this race away. You've got tonight and next week. And if you perform well and you're in the top 8 in points, you get to move on to the next round. But in all drivers' minds, they'll win and you're locked into the next round as well.
That would be huge for everybody. They don't want to go to Iowa next week with any thoughts about getting knocked out. That would take all those thoughts away. And if you go out here and get the victory like Joshua Robinson, Kyle Bowen, Thomas Ogle, King Campbell here, anybody in our top 5, even back to Ross Tatum, they would all lock themselves in. So we'll see what they can do. But right here, we're seeing it. Kyle McCoy still trying to get past Scott Rickard, not allowing that to happen. We got Grattan here as we're looking back from his back bumper in this 91.
And the draft being the biggest hindrance to the 7 machine. He's quick through the center of the corner and off, but when we get to straightaway, no one's assisting the 7. No one's going down below. And Kyle McCoy, who was looking quick, he was moving forward, but the draft, Zach, just too strong.
Yeah, that is so frustrating from a driver's standpoint. You got the run through the center, and especially when you get the run off the corner. Oh, as that got close there on the exit of 4s, he was dragging a little bit loose up ahead of him. He's going to get this draft again. Rickard is going to clear that 7 machine, but it's so frustrating as a driver when that draft, you know, is the only thing really holding you back from making that pass, as that car on your outside has it as everybody slides up to that wall.
Going extremely high is the 91, but he's going to be ripping the speed on the backstretch, but clear is 0.5 of Rickard, who's going to be finding himself in a great position. And Kyle McCoy, now he'll follow in line, finally cleared that of Jason Grattan, and Grattan going in the wrong direction as he's one of the slowest drivers in the top 10 currently, and he's got to be careful because there's some quick drivers that are closing in. We talk about that of Cameron Sargent, but Brandon Pierce is back to this front group. He's clawed his way through all the lap traffic. He's now up to that 14.
Yeah, Brandon Pierce, you know, he was running really in that 14th position in that 38 machine for majority of the night and went with that different strategy. But here now, right here on the tail end of this field here, right here in the 14th position, he's got 13th, 12th, 11th, all of them right here ahead. He might be looking for a top 10 or a better position here late in this race as he's figuring something out. As Grattan gets real tight up ahead there on the exit, and it slows down Offerman in that 20. That's going to allow Pierce to go to the inside, and Wade going to even try to take that position on him.
And for main thing for that of Brandon Pierce, he has to get by Jason Grattan, as right now the 38 and the 91 battling for last of all the playoff drivers coming into tonight. All the playoff drivers keeping themselves within the top that of 13. This is incredible to see here, Zach.
Yeah, it really is, man. It just shows you the depth of this playoff field here. It is, it's really, I mean, it shows you how the regular season came together to get these 12, and it's really come down to the 12 best here this season. So we're going to get to see who can make it to that next round, and be those top 8 drivers to try to fight to get into that Final Four, because it's such a prestigious thing to have happen here, and so tough in the playoffs, especially when everybody here is all stacked up on top of each other. You're not gaining too many points.
No, you're really not. And the only driver that's not in the playoffs inside of our top 13 is going to be that of Dylan Grimm. He's going to find himself up in 6th place. And Grimm came in as the last driver outside of our top 12 after last week's race, just missing out on the playoffs. It's the second season in a row for the 23, as he'll try to just rebound mentally and just show out this for the playoffs and say, hey, if I was there, I would be a little bit scared of this 23 machine.
Yeah, we've seen him before in the past make his way all the way down to the Final Four, and unfortunately didn't make it into the playoffs. Was very, very quick here tonight, and he could play a spoiler here at the very end of this thing. But right here, we're right on board with this 94 machine starting. He I think personally liked this caution. It allowed him to get back in a little bit better position here. Now right here with his teammate right here in front of him, Chris Travis Essery, he's gonna be looking to maybe make that move. But did Essery even learn from his first stint? He drove right up to that 3rd spot, and he was the one quickly falling backwards. He could have learned from that first stint also.
And they've all kind of been chasing down about a 5th place runner, Dylan Grimm and Ross Tatum. It's been a complete just charge to see who can catch up to 5th place. Their top 4 still completely gapped away. Now they're starting to fall apart on where they're running, no longer in line, as we hop on board with the tail end of this Dylan Grimm and check back to Ross Tatum, who's in that 6th place spot. And Ross Tatum, again, backed off so much on that first stint, then made a great charge forward, but kind of stalled out in 4th and 5th place. He's now being pressured by the 7 of Kyle McCoy, who's up to 7th place, and just seems like a lot of shifting going on as drivers that are locked down are going to be hitting pit road. But here comes the 21, putting the pressure on.
Yeah, he got right to the back bumper of Grimm there, but just unfortunately had to back out of it. As now McCoy coming up into the picture also in the 7, as these 3 here about 3.8, almost 4 seconds back from our lead group of Joshua Robinson and Kyle Bowling. So trying to make his return back up here. Kyle McCoy might not have the win in the cards here tonight as his 30 to go, but I tell you what, he still can get himself a very good finish to help himself head to Iowa.
And for the past about 20 laps, it is our front 4. They've been pulling away. They've been the fastest. They've been over 2, 3, almost 4 tenths faster than the rest of the field. Well, Zach, that last lap, it was our leader that was one of the slower drivers on track. 5th on back are slowly starting to make that close in. But they got to make sure they don't get too giddy on recognizing they're faster than the leader, because they still got a lot of racing to go. 30 laps to go officially. Now make it that at 29.
Yeah, I want to see Kyle Bolin start here to put the pressure on. He's really gotten close up to the back bumper of this 30 machine here in the last few laps as that 30 starts to struggle. Can he start to get back out front? That is going to be the huge question I think all of us need to be asking ourselves, because he gave that lead to the 30. He went high, let him go by, kind of felt like he wanted to ride there for a moment, and definitely looks to be looking to come back into the pictures as the 30 machine definitely loose off the exit. Here comes Bowling a little bit lower off the corner too, getting a good clean air on that nose.
Trying to get any type of pressure, trying to get better launches out of the corner any way possible as the 30 machine. Another thing that could have been thrown out, I mean, yes, he saw the 44 gift that position to the lead. Maybe he's been saving, but here comes that push for side by side onto the backstretch.
And here it comes inside, down here to 3 and 4. Can Bolin hold onto the bottom groove and make it stick on the exit? That's going to be the key. The 30 drove it in majorly deep there on the outside. He looks already a little bit loose. Bolin with the drive off here on the bottom, and he's going to be a nose ahead to lead this lap, and he should have a chance here to clear down into 1.
That wiggle on the outside, so costly, losing all the momentum, had it back out of the throttle, and the 44 of Kyle Bowling now takes the lead. And Zach, when we had our commercial break, we were looking back. Kyle Bowling, ever since we've covered this Stars and Stripes series, has yet to find himself into victory lane, but he's looking for his second career win if possible.
Yeah, this would be a huge moment for him. You got to look back all the way to the trucks where this guy got a win. It was November of 2020 at Atlanta. It has been so long. I mean, we're looking at almost 2 years here very soon since his last win in this league. And tonight, it may be his shot. He's shown the speed. He's shown the long run and the consistency to keep it there. Can this slow race in 44 keep it out front?
And Kyle Bowling, I mean, we looked at those stats. That's all the way back to season 2, the last time that he found himself in victory lane. But we looked at the top 5s. He was ranked 6th all time here for Stars and Stripes. In the 5 seasons that's been ran, that of 6th overall in top 5 finishes. He has been Mr. Consistent so many seasons. It's just the wins have never been there. And as well, never been a contender. And Zach, that's another thing that the stats kind of showed at us.
Yeah, really, it's really been kind of weird. Bowling, you got to look back all the way to that Xfinity series. He was so good in there. He was so consistently top 5, top 3, really the 3rd to the 5th position, week in to week out. Gen 6 didn't work out to him for him too well. He had great runs, but just didn't have the same runs that he did in the Xfinity car. But man, tonight, it just seems like it's never broke through for him. And he's had those moments, even looking back to the Xfinity car, where he was the fastest car on the racetrack long into those runs. He just never had the track position or the lead to get into position. But it all could come together tonight. And that second victory will be one of the sweetest things ever, because this would push him on to that next round and let him get set up for that second round where it is definitely a scary one with Dover and Atlanta sitting there for these drivers.
And that is most likely what we're expecting is New Atlanta. That is going to be the 1.5 mile super speedway type track with Dover. That is a quick, narrow, and you can see a race ended in an instant. Those are 2 very tough races that all these drivers are going to have to deal with going into the next round. But this first round, it's here at Homestead, Iowa next week. And you, again, like you noted on Zach, you do not want to be in a place where you have to worry about points heading into Iowa as the 44 continues to pull away. The laps continue to tick down. We're coming up to 20 to go here in just 2 laps.
Yeah, laps are clicking away, man. And I'll tell you what, it's definitely been a great race all night long. Tire saving, tire management has been the big talking point, and it very well could be what comes down to the end. Because I tell you, even with Kyle Bowling still, he got to that lead. He's pulled out about 0.8 of a second gap. Ross Tatum, Dylan Grimm, Ross Tatum and Dylan Grimm, those 2 have been on the charge. They're now getting past King Campbell up into the 4th position, and it is starting to get to about a 2-second range where they are flying.
Yeah, that 23 as well as the 21. We talked about it during our first stint when we saw Ross Tatum really back off in the first 15 laps of this race. He felt from that of 3rd all the way back to 14th, then made a surge forward. I think that was the learning point of I gave up too much time. I wasn't able to come back. Dylan Grimm, Ross Tatum did the same exact thing. They backed off. They were about 2 seconds off to 3 seconds off our leaders. And now is the push, trying to make the surge forward. They've already made the pass by that of Ken Campbell. It's Thomas Ogle that's the next target in mind. But our front 2, Kyle Bowling, Joshua Robinson, I think they're just on a completely different level of having that early speed and the distance with 20 laps to go.
Yeah, I personally feel like Kyle Bowling, he's into a different zip code right now. He's going to continue, I think, here to pull out from this field. Last time I wasn't the greatest lap, 34.70, but I tell you, looking back to Joshua Robinson, 34.95, Thomas Ogle, 34.78. They're falling right now into the clutches, as you see here with Grimm and Tatum. And I don't think these guys are going to make it too easy on this group here, but with 20 to go, there's still plenty of time here for Grimm and Tatum to go up there and possibly even challenge Bowling.
And they also got to make sure that they don't get in any more contact. As I almost saw there, Thomas Ogle getting loose out of the corner, holds his line. And just like that, Grim Tatum put him up third, fourth on the board. And Ross Tatum now deciding, all right, we're moving forward. I want to be the driver that's leading this race. Thanks for being the non-playoff driver that's done so much work. I'm going to reap all the reward now.
Yeah, this is perfect for Ross Tatum. He's going to dive down to the inside and look to take that spot. But Grim ripping that top side. Here comes the big run off that top. I think he might have it. As Tatum was clear to move up there, but I think he knew that 23 had such a head of steam. If he moved up, it was going to be either contact to the rear bumper or him going back to the inside. So elects to hold the bottom groove. But now 2.3 seconds behind our leader with 18 to go. He's going to need to make this pass quick on Dylan Grim, and they're going to make, they're both so fast, but they're battling each other. This is going to slow them down.
Yeah, this is counteractive. This is not what you want to see. You wanted to make this pass as soon as possible, so then you could just continue to utilize the draft to help one another. But now, side by side, the side drafting's hurting both drivers, and instead of gaining time, they might be losing time now. As that last lap, the time clicks in somehow. Still gaining on Joshua Robinson, but Kyle Bowling holding his time equal on the speed of the 21 as well as the 44. So 17 laps to go. Still a little bit of wiggle room, but that's on what Kyle Bowling's doing on these tires. Is he overutilizing them, recognizing what the drivers behind are doing?
Yeah, and we haven't had a run go this far with these last 17 laps, other than Brandon Pierce, we won't have, too many drivers that have took it this far, especially the guys up front. Robinson and Bolin, they have not went this far on tires, so we're going to have to really see how they figure this out here. And Ross Tatum and Dylan Grim, they've gotten up here, but now starting to stall out, I think, a little.
Starting to stall out just a little bit for themselves as Grim's going to be trying to poke the nose and going to be deciding to go down low for third place. I mean, this is one of those things when you're a playoff driver, you hate to see a non-playoff driver who has so much speed racing for just the win, for the best positioning, and Grim taking right back that spot.
Yeah, great job by Grim there to take the position back with only 15 laps to go. And not a playoff driver, but still willing to go out there and race with this group. But now look at this. S3, he's moved his way to the top 5. His saving has come back to help him. He learned from his mistakes early in the race and now moved himself up along with Ogle dropping back here to 6. Sarton's also about to take the 6th position possibly.
Yeah, and Cameron Sarton moving forward. Kyle McCoy's going backwards. Ken Campbell, Ogle, all struggling at this time of really trying to keep that speed as they're just seeing drivers holding the inside lane. That 83 machine kind of looks like he's waving the white flag with the way he's racing right now, just holding the inner groove while everyone else is utilizing the draft on the straightaways.
Yeah, now you're going to have Kyle McCoy even here now on that outer groove. It's going to be just another position loss from Ogle, as Ogle and Kent Campbell both were running top 4 there early in this run. Now both back to 8th and 9th, so tough break for both of those drivers. But, man, with 14 laps here to go coming to, it looks like 13, I tell you, Boland's looking to get this done, but it's going to be one heck of a race here down to the end with this group.
As now going to be seeing these laps tick away. 13 to go. Kyle Bowling seeing that lead gain more and more, but the battle for second, Joshua Robinson losing ground. And if Robinson gets passed here by Grim, that's going to be taking away an extra point for Robinson to have over the rest of the field behind him. As again, Bowling, if he finds himself winning for the 44, that will push him into the next round. Everyone else practically in line with everyone on where they're going to finish for points-wise. This is looking fantastic for the 44, and it's going to make a treat for us going into Iowa next week.
That it will, man. And you know the old adage, every point matters. So if you're Joshua Robinson, you better fight for this thing, because you know 1 point could be the difference between you moving on at Iowa next week or not. So you never know what your situation could be there. They got to have every single point they need necessary here at the end. But coming to 11 to go, I think this is the perfect time here to give a shout out to one of our last sponsors up here, and that is the Admin Box, folks. If you haven't checked out the Admin Box, one of the best button boxes out there in all of sim racing, because not only does it give you the race control that most button boxes out there in sim racing do, but it also gives, the driver functionality that most button boxes give you. It also gives you the race control functionality, such as being able to throw a yellow flag, clear black flags, do many other situations where you can type in a driver's number, and control many different things. So if you want race control at your fingertips, make sure you go check out admin boxes. Dylan Grimm goes and looks to make the pass, and you can use our discount code FFB/BOX at purchase there for a discount.
And as well as we're coming up to 10 to go, well, let's get a 10 out of 10 quality for merch. As if you want to get yourself some freaky fast broadcasting merch, hey, there it is on screen. They got hoodies, t-shirts, and plenty of different colors, sizes to make sure that it fits you perfectly. As well as plenty of other merch items to be grabbed at our merch store. And Zach, I believe you've got ourselves the link to put in the chat if people want to just head over now.
Yeah, there it is out there in the chat for the folks. So if you want to go check out our Store Frontier page and get yourself some Freaky Fast merch, it is right there in front of you. But coming to 9 to go, Kyle Bowling, the only thing he wants to see, Sam, is that white flag and then next the checker flag, because he knows this is possibly his chance here to get that second victory with about a 2-second lead still. This 44, I mean, he's been bulletproof tonight.
He's been bulletproof, but that last lap's got to make him shudder just a little bit. That of Dylan Grimm, 0.2 faster with 9 to go. The 23, if he can keep that pace, he is going to be making a surge to go after this 44 and play spoiler. Boylan, who's looking for his second win in his career. It's been almost 2 years, 8 laps to go, Zach. And we look at the difference, it's closing in just slightly. It's now 1.6 seconds as we head into turn number 1.
Ooh, it's definitely closing down 1.6 seconds there as we see it down into 1 for a moment. And he gained about 0.08 of a second there on that last lap. So still almost about a 1/10 of a second faster, but he's going to need a little bit more than that. And Bowling just needs to make the mistakes not happen. From what I've seen, he can run anywhere from a 34.80 or a 70 all the way to a 90, where Dylan Grimm's been kind of consistent right there in the 70s here lately. So we'll see what happens. A 72 there from Grimm that time and an 84 from Bowling. So about a 1/10.5 there almost.
Just a little bit off, just a little bit as the 44. Hoping not to see that 23 get any bigger in his mirror, and a much cleaner exit out of turn number 2 for that of the 44 of Bowling. He needs to have those clean runs. It's been through that of 3 and 4, where the 23 of Grimm has been faster, and he's gaining all of this time on the entries. But here we go, coming up to the laps, ticking away each and every time. Now 6 to go. It's still seeing a little bit of an advantage going to the 23, but it's just big enough. The gap, Kyle Bowling, he made it big enough that he can potentially hold off here, Zach.
Yeah, I think he's built a big enough gap to where it's going to have to be pretty much Dylan Grimm pushing flat out and Kyle Bowling making a mistake here if he wants to catch him here coming to 5 to go. I tell you what, Kyle Bowling's drove a perfect race so far. The only thing he does not, and I tell you, as a driver, it always looms in your mind here with coming to 5 to go. Where is the yellow flag going to come? When is it going to happen? You're just questioning everything that's going through your mind. And especially the driver like him who hasn't won in almost 2 years, the demons have to be coming in.
I mean, if we look at the patterns for the last 2 seasons, it's been only 1 caution thrown for the whole entire race, but we are in the 5 to go marker. If a yellow flag comes out any time before the 1 to go flag, these drivers will head into overtime, Zach, where they've only got 1 attempt if needed. And Dylan Grimm, I don't know where he found this extra speed, but he is still closing in. But it's going to be now 4 laps to go, and it might be still too big to be grabbed for the 23. As well as that battling's going on, Robinson has fallen back to 4th. The 30 might lose even more positions before this race is over.
Yeah, he is really struggling, and personally, he's going to have Sarton right behind him along with his teammate at S3, so those two are going to be closing in quickly here as they're already to the outside of the 30, heading down to 3 and 4. So Robinson, he was up front leading that race. He pushing hard, and it seems to have come back and bit him here as now these drivers looking to go around him. But with 3 to go here, Kyle Bowling still holding on to the gap. But I tell you what, Dylan Grimm always closing it down. Only 1.1 seconds separates him, though. Just not enough time, though, at this pace.
It's all on the mistakes, though, from the 44 of Kyle Bowling. If he does not make mistakes, this 23 cannot close in time at the pace that they're going at this current moment. But there is always that glimmer in the back of your mind thinking, what if something happens? Because Dylan Grimm, coming to 2 laps to go, is finally starting to get a little bit of that lick of the draft. The 23, watch out for the straightaways now.
3 miles here at Homestead. Can Kyle Bolin hold him off? He's done so much here to hold on to this lead here late in the go, and this has been the longest run for him all night. Dylan Grimm, though, coming into his own here, finding the pace here as he comes off a 2. It is very much getting closer between these two, but just not going to be enough possibly.
Kyle Bolin came into this season, was hoping after the Gen 6 Cup Series, just make the playoffs, just show any life, and the life has shown out when the lights click on here at Homestead. The freaky fast white flag is out. The glimpse on a chance to move on to the next round is in the eyes of the 44. He's just got a couple more corners to go here, Zach.
Oh, he missed the bottom there in 1 and 2, and you don't want to do that too often. There is now Grimm closing in very quickly, down to 0.6 of a second, but 2, 3, and 4 for the final time tonight. Bolin just needs to be mistake-free.
He might have struggled. It might have been all the way back in Season 2 when he found the glory of Victory Lane. Well, at a turn number 4, when it matters the most, Kyle Bolin is a winner once again for the Stars and Stripes Series.
And that is, like you said, Sam, when it matters most, and it did here tonight. He's going to lock himself into that round of 8. He's going to get prepared for Dover and Atlanta. He has no worries heading into Iowa, while the rest of this field, they question, man, where am I going to be sitting when we come out in here with the points?
I mean, this 44 machine, so many drivers know he's had the pace, he's looked strong. But Zach, when we look at the stats, it still's a head scratcher. We look at how many laps the 44 has led. He only had 1 win coming into the night of his whole entire Stars and Stripes career. And Kyle finally gets the win, and I believe he's now doubled the laps led that he's had during his whole entire career.
Yeah, coming in tonight, 55 laps led. I think he led over that for sure here tonight, possibly. And what a moment there. You see Scott Ricker there, his teammate coming by to celebrate with him. And I tell you what, he also came in here as the last guy in the playoff standings. He had no bonus points. He had 0. And now he's locked in.
I mean, this is going to shake everything up, as well as some late changers, but we're going to have some fun here tonight. Can't wait to talk to the 44. We got our post-race show in just a few moments, where we get to talk to Ross Tatum, Dylan Grimm, Kyle Bolin, and we get to see their thoughts of going into Iowa next week, the final race of the round of 12. It quickly came, and it's about to end here for the round of 12 playoff action before we head to the next round. Zach, it's going to be a good one, but we will, again, Zach and myself will be back here in just a few moments for the post-race show here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Freaky Fast Broadcasting post-race show here for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. As the first race of the playoffs is now done, and the round of 12 inches a little bit closer to their next race. But tonight, what a race it was! Only one caution came out, and we had some great different strategies thrown out overall. But the driver that comes in that third place, going to be Ross Tatum. We'll bring in the 21 machine, get his thoughts on how tonight went. Ross, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on third place. How you feeling after that one?
Feeling good, feeling completely worn out, man. That was a very tough race.
It definitely looked tough out there, Ross. You guys were definitely have to work the wheels, and man, the management of tires. I think it became a huge topic of discussion tonight. Seems like you and Grim really had that figured out there at the end, man. But take us through it because you definitely were one of the biggest savers all night.
Yeah, man, it was really tough saving tires during those runs because the leaders, man, they would just fly away from you 3-4 seconds, and you just had to hope they'd come back to you. And I really thought I had a winning strategy, but Dylan was just a thorn in my side all night. I could never really get around him or past him, and when I did get past him, then I messed up and let him right back by me. And then Kyle Bolin, he just ran just a great race. He was so fast all night. He was able to run fast and save tires. So congrats to him. And yeah, just crazy battle tonight. It was one of the harder races I've ever ran on iRacing.
Well, Ross, this is playoff racing action. First race down. We only got Iowa going into next week before this round is done in a blink of an eye. How are you feeling with yourself being the highest of those that are now trying to point their way into the next round?
It feels good, but Iowa is also a track that a lot can happen. It's almost like a Bristol. It's pretty easy to get into a wreck there with cars ricocheting off the walls and stuff. So it's going to be tough. I'm definitely going to have to put in some laps this week. Not looking forward to that, but it's just something I'm going to have to do. This is probably the hardest league I've ever ran in my life. If you're off a 10th, you're running 15th. So just a testament to everybody in this league, how good they are. And it makes you want to race. So it's fun.
Well, Ross, congratulations again on a third place finish. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Thanks, guys. I got to thank Coca-Cola for paying my bills. Everybody go try Coca-Cola, LEL, something, support the company. Got to thank Freaky Fast. You guys put on the best broadcast there is. Everyone, please sign them up for your leagues. They are the best. I got to thank, I forgot to shout them out the other day, but I got to thank Campbell Racing on YouTube. If you want to see it behind the scenes of kind of our team during the races, check him out on YouTube. And then obviously Christopher Wade on Facebook. I got to thank all my teammates at Storm, Wade and Campbell and Perry, all those guys. It's always fun racing with those guys. And just got to thank the league. Like I said, this is the toughest league I've ever ran in. So it just makes it fun to come and run every week. So looking forward to next week.
Well, that is going to be the 21 machine of Ross Tatum. Congratulations on third place and good luck heading to Iowa next week.
Thanks, guys.
As we head from third place, we had to second place where we find a driver that was on the hunt but came up just a little bit shy. We got Dylan Grimm up at the booth with us. Dylan, what a run that you had there. What was going through your mind, though? Seeing the laps, seeing the intervals slowly tick away, but the lap's just not there.
Yeah, that I didn't think when I got second that I would even be able to close in, and I did a little bit, but I just didn't have enough laps. Maybe if I had 5 or 10 more laps, I probably would have got there, but it's still a super great run.
Yeah, definitely a huge run for you, Dylan. And, unfortunately didn't make the playoffs, man. Was one of the first drivers there outside of that playoff window. But, man, do you feel like you, in these last couple races of the season here in the playoffs, you can play spoiler?
Yeah, I mean, I got no pressure, so just trophy hunting at this point. I think there's a little prize for the highest non-playoff driver in points, but yeah, no pressure and just go and trophy hunting.
Well, speaking of trophy hunting, we have only 4 more races to go. How are you feeling about these next 4 races, or at least the next 3 being Iowa, Dover, and Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Those are some of my favorite tracks. I think actually we're going to the Super Speedway Atlanta, so who knows what will happen there. But I definitely like Iowa and Dover, so hopefully I can go get a win there.
Well, we hope to see you go for it, Dylan. But before we let you go here tonight, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I got to shout out Nate and everyone who puts on this fantastic league. You guys in the booth for doing such a great job each week. All my teammates at Grim Roberts Racing, Jason Gratton, Zach Kreitz, Randy Cornwell. I gotta thank my spotter, my papa, and any other family watching out there tonight.
That is going to be the 23 machine of Dylan Grimm coming away with second here this evening. Congratulations on that, and good luck heading to Iowa next week.
Thank you guys.
As we head from second place, we go to victory lane, where this has got to be a special win for himself. We got the 44 of Kyle Bowling with us. Kyle, it's been almost 2 years. It's been over that of 3 seasons, but you're finally back to victory lane. How are you feeling after this giant slump of not being here, but finally getting it done?
Feeling really good. I truly didn't think I'd ever get back there again. That first series, first run in the truck series, went really well, but with the way the season went, I mean, it was not going well until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then the switch flipped, and we've been fast.
That you have, Kyle, man. This is a huge victory for you, like Sam said. First one in a long time, man. And you came in here tonight with no bonus points in the playoffs. You were the last of the drivers in the round of 12. You've now locked yourself in, man. I mean, how much weight, first of all, does that take off? And how much are you going to start getting prepared for that next round? Because we know you got Atlanta in there, and that's got to be kind of scary.
There was really no weight on me, because I was kind of like I'm already at the back, so I can only go up. If I don't make it, I don't make it. But, well, that was kind of, the start of the race tonight. It's like, I've been focusing on going harder at the beginning of the run than I normally do, because that usually hurts me, because I don't make up for it later in the run. So that was kind of the goal, and I was just being more aggressive, and yeah, it worked out really well. And Homestead's just been a really good track for me. There was a recruitment league for this league that was running ARCA cars, and I went into that race. I had no practice. I had computer problems beforehand. I had no practice. My only practice was qualifying, and I just hooked up on that track too with the ARCA cars. So it's just, Homestead's a good place for me.
Well, Kyle, now that you have this win, you're locked into the next round. What is going to be the mentality going into Iowa next week? Is it still go out and go for a win, or are you going to be trying to still figure out the placements on where you want to place yourself?
I might as well go for a win. Get more points. More playoff points. That's the best way to go about it. I mean, if I don't get any more playoff points, nothing else is going to help me. So, yeah, going for a win, top 3, whatever. I just got to get whatever I can.
Well, Kyle, again, congratulations on the win, and the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Well, thanks to you guys for putting on a good broadcast. Thanks to my teammates, especially Rickard. He's kind of the one that kind of coached me on Homestead in the first place back in with that ARCA race. So yeah, he has a lot to do with this tonight.
Well, that is going to be the 44 of Kyle Bowling getting himself into victory lane. Congratulations on the win, and have some fun next week at Iowa.
Thanks, guys.
A spectacular race. Only one caution came out, and we're going to take a look at our unofficial results. But crazy to think, Zach, the majority of the drivers, practically everyone inside of our top 12 were playoff contenders, except for that of Dylan Grimm, who then was going to find that of Jason Gratton outside of our top 10. But this is where they lie. It's going to be that of Kyle Bowling in first, Dylan Grimm second, Ross Tatum third, Cameron Sarton fourth, fifth goes to the Chris Chavez Essery. Then it's going to be Joshua Robinson sixth, seventh goes to the 7 machine of Kyle McCoy, Thomas Ogle eighth, ninth goes to Scott Rickard, and finishing out our top 10 is going to be that of Brandon Pierce. But Zach, certainly for the playoff drivers, they all did what they needed to do here tonight.
Yeah, they definitely did, man. Jason Gratton, the only one there kind of finishing mired out of that top 12 back in 14. So, yeah, just a tough night there for Gratton there in the finish, because with everybody finishing so close here with these playoff drivers, it's going to really make the points very, very tight. And I can't wait to see what they are heading into Iowa, and it's going to be very, very special. But definitely some tough runs for a few guys throughout the rest of the field. It was a tough racetrack. I mean, you heard it from Ross Tatum, but he sounded like he was worn out.
Yeah, it was all about holding on. We heard drivers, it was all about throttle control, but we saw some wheelmanship certainly here this evening as Got to see a total of 32 drivers hit the track here tonight as drivers get set up. They're prepared now. That is the first taste of the playoffs this season. But Zach, in a blink of an eye, we are right back to the pressure and really get to see how the drivers get to handle next week as it's a cutoff race. Only 2 races per round means you're in and you're out in an instant.
Yeah, these style 5 race, playoff formats with 2 races in each round, and then the final race, be of that 5th race being the championship one. They're a pressure cooker, man. It literally just builds pressure until literally you go into that final race of the round and you say, man, I have to have a perfect race. And I think what Ross Tatum brought up in his interview was about how Iowa is kind of, it's kind of an unknown. It's literally a short track. It can be a place where a lot of things and crazy things can happen. So if you go in there, with only a 5 to 10 point lead, it can quickly go away. That those leads can disappear, and you could quickly be seeing yourself outside of that top 8 drivers and not be looking to move on to that next round. So it's tough to see, but man, Iowa is definitely going to be a huge challenge, just like Homestead was here tonight.
It certainly is. And honestly, you could call a wild card race for the next 3 races before we get to the championship at Michigan. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we got plenty of great coverage to still give to you. Yes, we're talking about playoffs here on Thursday, but the rest of the leagues that we cover, well, they're coming up to one of their last weeks of the regular season. It's about to be playoff action for most, but our first race going to be after tonight, going to be on Saturday night with the WSSR, as they're going to be having their last regular season race at Phoenix. Coming up to their last couple of races in the regular season at Phoenix that on Saturday, and plenty of other leagues. We got the ISRC Truck Series, we got the Full Send Racing Series on Tuesday, as well as Wicked on Wednesday, all getting prepared for the last couple of races in the regular season to get prepared for the playoff months. Middle October into November, it's the playoff month and a half that we're getting ourselves set up for. And Zach, it certainly is looking like a good time to be subscribing and watching some videos here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
They couldn't have picked a better time. If you're tuning in right now, you're checking out this video later, whatever you're doing right now, watching us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, I'm telling you, you better make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, because like Sam said, it is playoff action throughout this whole entire month. We got most of, tonight, first of all, starting off our playoff action here with the Stars and Stripes guys. But each and every league we go to has almost their regular season ended within the next few weeks. It's going to be a special time here. I tell you, we're going to be crowning a lot of champions. It's going to be a lot of intense racing. And just like you've seen here tonight, Ross Tatum brought it up. The competition level gets risen up even that much farther. And that just makes the racing that much better from us up here in the booth and for you fans out there watching. So thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure here tonight, Sam. I cannot wait to get this playoff action more rolling.
More playoff racing comes in next week, but the one driver heading into the next week with the pressure completely off of them, that is Kyle Bowling in the 44. It's been almost 2 years, and he's back into victory lane when it matters the most. Will the 44 continue on his run? Well, time will see, as you've got to be right back here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting Thursday night for more playoff coverage of the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. But for the rest of the week here for us, we'll see you on Saturday as the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series heads to Phoenix. How will they handle the desert? Let's find out. But for us here tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, and for Robert Moyer, and everyone else that helps us out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for watching this evening. We'll see you Saturday or next week for more playoff coverage.